Good afternoon. My name is Joe Bandel. I am the last Rosicrucian. Um, I'm going to be doing a Gaia Ascension update. And for a while, I think I'm going to be doing them every week. So they probably won't be that long. However, there's been some interesting things happening, ascension related or whatever, that added clarification, if you will. And I just thought, okay, I'm gonna I'm gonna come out with what I I get. Now I don't channel things, but I am active on all the planes. I and so it's things that I experience, things that I witness, things that I interpret a lot of times in dreams, visions, or meditations, or uh, astral projections, for example. And there's been a growing, oh, how would I say this? What I what I believe to be happening is so different from what a lot of people are believing that I figure it's time to come out and say what I think is happening, because I believe that some of the events that just happened this last week even really are significant, and people should be knowing about it, knowing about them, and especially if they're if they got the wrong thing in their head. So this whole thing about ascension, what is ascension? What does it mean? And there's these people out there that are channeling entities. They're channeling all this information. Now, if you think about it, I'm going to take a typical person who channels something, and whoever they channel, let's say they channel what is called a star seed, uh, a soul that's not in the physical, not embodied in a physical body, but living in the, let's call it the astral plane, for example. Well, if you and I'm gonna come out and I'm gonna say, okay, I follow some of this channeled material, and I believe that there's a lot of these entities that do exist, just like they say they exist. Does that mean I agree with all of them? Not necessarily. I believe that they're trying to be help. A lot of them are trying to be helpful, but there's quite a bit of misdirection out there, and that's what's really prompting me to do this particular video, is to try to set the record straight. For example, think of a channeled message on YouTube that you have seen. Chances are the entity that's being channeled is going to say that they currently exist in a body of some kind, an energy body, a body of light, whatever, that does not experience emotions the same way that we do. And also, obviously, they don't experience physicality the same way that we do, because it's too dense, it's too difficult. And so they live at a higher level, a higher dimension, if you will. Okay. I mean, I can think of, you can go there, you can find, wherever you look, you're going to find an example like that. I'm not being far out on this. But what I'm saying is, if this entity doesn't experience emotions like we do, or doesn't experience physicality like we do, they're kind of like a ghost, a high-end ghost, if you will. Ghosts have a negative connotation because they tend to live at in the lower planes. Okay, but I'm saying that in terms of understanding, it's like their body, their energy body, is best understood as a mental body created out of mental energies. And the mental energies, as we know, you can have your abstract mental energies or your philosophical energies that are from the third eye chakra, or you can have the concrete mental energies, which are what we would normally think of as conscious awareness, that are located at what's called the high heart, but is actually centered on the thymus as a chakra point. A thymus, and that's where most of them are going to be. There are some, like the Pleiadians will say, that dip into some of the emotional levels according to their self-disclosure, that kind of thing. That would be the high heart, not the high heart, the low heart, the heart itself, which is the seat of the upper emotional energies. And so their body they would have a non-physical body created out of what we would call higher emotional energies. And that's pretty much, that's where it ends. That's what the ascension type thing is going to be, or that's where a lot of people think is going to happen. And a lot of people are thinking, well, okay, fourth density, fifth density. Fifth density, everybody's trying to jump over and go into fifth density. That's where you're essentially, they're going to be crossing the great abyss. Their spark is going to be crossing the great abyss. And then it will reconstitute itself at the appropriate point of what you call fifth density, which would be your mental, the thymus, your mental awareness, or the abstract mental energies, which are the third eye things. So you're ending up going to be one of those ghosts, if you is the best way of calling it. And I mention that and I say that because this is not being said, and it needs to be said. If everything that these entities are saying is true, everybody that's on the ascension train, on the ascension wagon, their physical bodies are going to die. Basically, our physical bodies are all need to be dropped, which means they need to die. And nobody's saying that. And we need to be thinking about that, because we don't go from the body that we're in to that ascension body without dropping the physical. Now, even the Eastern traditions, they talk about a lot of the martial arts, they're talking about the development of the immortal physical body. And I remember in a book, Montauk Chia, who was a teacher in those traditions, mentioning that when you develop these non-physical bodies, we'll call it and what he's talking about would be the immortal physical body, which would either be considered the lower emotional body or down even to the etheric level, which actually has 32 awareness points, is much deeper. But they come out and they say, if you don't drop the physical body that you're living in when you achieve that, you can't reap the benefits. So, bottom line, I'm just spending a little time here and I'm saying this whole ascension thing is talking about how you're going to leave the physical body that you currently live in. And your awareness is going to exist in an ascension body of light, energy body, however you want to call it. Essentially, what kind of ghost you're going to become. And nowhere is any of that being talked about that I know of. But the implication of that is each one of us, realistically speaking, we need to build up our appropriate non-physical body. We need to build up the astral bodies that will sustain our awareness, contain our awareness when we drop our physical body. That's not that much different than what religions have been telling us for ages. Except these people, they don't understand, hey, death is the gate through which it goes. Sure, they come out and they say there's going to be very few people that might not need to go through the death experience of the physical body. We're talking probably less than 20 people in the whole world, you know. I mean, it's essentially we're going to be passing through that gate. And the thing to do is to develop the non-physical body ahead of time. Consider, if you will, all of these people who do not believe in the soul. They do not believe that there is a place for awareness to go, to exist in after the death of the physical body. They're in bad trouble. They're in some big trouble because we need to kind of have a non-physical body created that is solid enough to hold together for our awareness to switch over into, or to be in. For example, like me, I'm kind of in both worlds at the same time. So I'm just bringing that up because that's something that nobody's talking about, and we're reaching the point where people need to know what's coming, what to expect. The next couple points here, these involve a couple dreams that I had. And they're like the dreams I had, very vivid, very kind of like waking dreams or whatever, lucid dreaming, that kind of thing. One of them was quite interesting. It was frustrating, really. But I'm in a vehicle. I'm driving a car on the highway. Now, a vehicle in a dream represents not only your non-physical body or your energy body, but the vehicle actually represents a space around you, an environment around you. So it's a very empowering thing. But obviously it's symbolic. Well, in this dream, I'm driving down the highway, and the car wants to go off the road onto the shoulder with one wheel. And it does, and I turn the steering wheel as far as it'll go to the left, and it's not doing anything. It's not getting back onto the road surface. It's not going down in the ditch, but it's just not getting back onto the pavement, you know what I mean? And I get so frustrated, and I slow the car down. I slow it down, and then it'll get back on the pavement. And I keep going a little bit, and it wants to get back off, and one tire get on the shoulder again. And in the sequence of this dream, I think this vehicle, the car that I was driving, did that about 4 times. And I even stopped and I was talking to somebody. I was really frustrated. I said, what's going on with this? You know, this is just bogus. But if you look at that, okay, energetically, what's happening? I want to be on the pavement. I want to be on the highway, right? I want to be on the road. Okay, in the dream, I am on the road. I am on the path that I'm supposed to be on. However, a force, some type of energy, is making it very difficult to stay on that road. And the sense that I have of that dream is that it's the collective energy that's dragging me onto the shoulder. It's not dragging me down into the ditch because my personal energy, my personal empowerment, my sovereignty won't allow that. But it's not allowing me to be where I really need to be, where I'm meant to be, because the highway that's where I'm meant to be. So I'm bringing this up so that you can sense the energy dynamics and understand what it's talking about, because a lot of people are talking about resonance now. They're talking about, don't fight this, what's happening, this ascension thing, don't fight it, don't struggle. It's resonance that's going to get you where you need to be. And the resonance, they'll even continue and they'll say the resonance is what is the vibration, it's the frequency that the collective has chosen. And right away, I'm going to tell you that my dream is telling me that the collective has chosen a frequency that will force me to drive with one tire, with the tire on the side, on the shoulder. It's not allowing me to get on the pavement. So in other words, it's coming up short. Resonance is not going to help me. Resonance is going to cause me to drive that car along with the one tire on the shoulder, well, two tires on the shoulder, not going down in the ditch, but on the shoulder. The only way that I can get back on the road is to boost my power, boost my source, my connection to source, to where it forces the collective to rise in frequency to the point where it will allow me to be on the shoulder, on the highway itself, effortlessly. So the collective needs to get bumped up. What I'm going to say it again. All I'm saying, what that dream tells me is, just going along with it doesn't work. It's not going to get you or me or whatever where we need to be. It takes effort. These people that are saying it doesn't take effort, it takes resonance. They're misleading you. We need to up the frequency. However we up the frequency, either by making the collective smarter or by taking on more of the load ourselves. My personal effort, I try to do a little of both. Through this video, I'm trying to spread the message out that other people need to kind of take up some of that effort, raise their vibrations. But I'm also saying, okay, I'm going to try to take more of the load. And so I'm boosting my own effort at raising my vibration. Okay, that's the one dream. I have one other dream, and this dream happened last night. And it was a strange dream, but it involved a buzzsaw. You could say a buzzsaw or a circular saw that was kind of like I was outside looking up at the clouds, and it was almost like there was a tornado spinning or whatever, but there wasn't a funnel cloud. There was just this spinning, and it reminded me of like a buzz saw, but instead of the buzz saw or a circle saw, instead of it being like this, it was like this, and it just went across the sky, cutting, is what it seemed to be doing. It was in the clouds. You couldn't really tell what the edges were doing, but it was flat, really flat, and it just went zip like that. And I was with some people, and I was like, we got to get inside there, because there was a building there, and you could take shelter in the building. And just like, I'll get these people in the building as that buzzsaw went across. And I was like, what kind of symbolism is this talking about? What's going on here? And that was basically the dream. And I got to thinking, that buzzsaw is actually cutting the cords of all those souls, entities, individuals that are going to fifth density. It's cutting their earth cord. It's cutting their earth cord. They're rising. This happened just last night. Cutting that earth cord. And what that means in another way is, when that cord's cut, they're crossing the great abyss. They're letting go, or, well, I shouldn't say letting go. It's been severed. Their connection to earth to the Gaia, it's been severed. They have no choice. They're going up. And as part of what they're going up, part of that path that they're doing is crossing the great abyss. We have, the way that I interpret what that dream meant, really realistically, is all these star seeds, everybody that is saying, I'm going to fifth density and getting out of here, their cords are cut. Their cords to Gaia are cut. And they are automatically going across the great abyss. Okay, I crossed the great abyss back in 1991. And I can tell you firsthand what's happened. And it's not only what I've said, but we'll give an example of what Aleister Crowley wrote about the great abyss and people who have crossed the great abyss, because it's considered one of the most significant spiritual experiences that a soul can have. And it causes the death of the false ego. But if you look at the OTO and you look at some of the teachings of the OTO, or you look at some of the other traditions out there, there's a term that they use, an alternate term that they use for somebody who has crossed the great abyss other than the Magister Templi. It's the Master of Sorrow. Because what happens when you cross the great abyss, your soul achieves salvation, if you will. It connects to Source. But it loses the earth connection. And without the earth connection, everything that has been contained in your shadow side goes nuts. Anything and everything that goes bad, that can go bad, is going to go bad. And you're going to be experiencing it. And you're going to survive it. However, well, surviving doesn't necessarily mean surviving it in the physical body, but your awareness is going to survive it because your awareness has achieved a safe spot. But that means what's going to happen to you physically, though, can be pretty rough. When it happened to me, my wife left, took the children. I had to go through bankruptcy, and I was in the Air Force, and I got out of the Air Force. It was tough. It was hard. It was, and I was thrown back into my emotions once more because of all the unresolved, all the trapped negativity, the repressed emotions, the repressed things that I had inside of me were coming up, and I had to deal with that. What that dream that I just had last night is telling me is this is what everybody's that's crossed, that just got the ride over the great abyss. It's not going to be fun. And okay, here's the irony. If you look at some of these channeled messages out there, they're talking about 2026. What are they telling the star seeds? What are they telling these ascendees, if you will? They're saying 2026 is not going to be fun. It's not going to be fun. what's happening, you gotta focus on your soul body. You gotta focus on your body of light. You gotta focus on developing a place for your awareness to go. Don't worry about that physical body. It's going to be having a hard time. That's all. I felt that I needed to share these things because I believe that a lot of people are operating under false pretenses. And this is what I believe is the true thing that's happening for a lot of people. I don't want people to be blindsided. That's all. I'll continue with talking about some of this stuff next week, but that's all for now. Thank you very much. Bye.